buildings, and so we had some ideas for that. And, it is zoned C1 commercial on that property, or part of it, and trying to figure out how we can keep farming as the primary use, but also be able to use some of the buildings for some other purposes. So the question was, before we go too far down the path of writing up a text amendment, whether we should even, you would even consider that. So that's why we're kind of proposing that before we spend too much on lawyer fees to draft something that you wouldn't want to listen to.
Well, I guess the question in the room is, what kind of uses are you thinking?
Sure. So just dead storage space for the space that we have there. That's, for us, we want something fairly low impact. We want to still farm it. So how can we get extra income out of a farm operation? And using that as dead storage to us seems like the most logical way to go.
Would that stay within, it's Ralph Buckles, would that stay within the existing footprint of the structure?
Yes, it would.
So basically, if somebody were to drive by and inspect or just take a look at it, they would not see anything different.
We'll probably have to do a little bit of cosmetic work too. I mean, the barns are barns, so you might have to change a door opening here or there, but we want it to look like a farm.
But there are other properties, other farms in this township that have storage equipment, they have trailers, they have sea cans, they have all other construction equipment that is very clearly storage. You're not going there, right? You're not going to be doing it like that, correct?
It'll be closed in.
Right.
Yeah, it won't be an open front, if that's what you're asking.
That's what I'm asking.
Correct.
Well, I'm still not really clear on what's going in there. Is there something farm related or?
No, this would be
equipment?
if someone would like to rent something to store, extra household items.
So then doesn't it start to get into a commercial storage operation?
Well, that's basically what the farms are looking for, some sort of mini storage in existing footprint buildings on the farm. So to Mr. Buckles' question, yes, you drive by, it'll look predominantly the way it looks now. Mr. and Mrs. Martin were talking about possibly upgrading the buildings to accommodate this type of interior storage, where you go inside the building and you have several storage units that people can access. There'll be some associated parking with people patronizing this type of use at the farm, but they want to keep it as, I would say, low impact as possible, based on our conversations.
In the C3 district, it's allowed.
In the C1 district, well, in the light industrial, it's allowed, yes, okay. In general commercial, it's a challenge.
Isn't that property split between agricultural and commercial?
Not for my
Not where
knowledge.
the buildings are. It's
No.
all commercial. The whole property, of course, there's part of that tag too.
Right.
But none of the buildings are outside of C1.
None of them are outside C1, or none of them are in C1?
Right. No, they're all in C1, all the buildings.
Right, so that's the point of, if we're applying an agricultural stick in this event, that's one thing, but it's, the property is split. It's two different zonings.
You can look at it here. Shows you exactly where it's at. Cocalico Creek Road comes in here. Okay, this is Cocalico Creek Road. This is the farm we're talking about, and all the way back up to the creek is all C1 commercial. So what they're talking about, their use is all within C1. It's not split.
Right, and my comments are meant to be supportive of
Right.
the C1 commercial use of the property.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I'll make a comment. I guess it's interesting to point out that when you ask them specifically what their intent is, I think the overriding intent was, as they stated, was, is the township, is the board interested in entertaining a text amendment that would allow what they're looking to do?
Yeah.
The text amendment would not apply to their property, solely their property. It would be a broader text amendment that would apply elsewhere. Yes, could a text amendment be manipulated to put so many conditions that when you satisfy them all, you end up along a certain road with a certain size and stream frontage, this, that, so that there's only one, yeah. But their interest was to understand, is there a broad? That raises the issue to the township of, if it's under consideration, are there certain zones where it would be given further consideration? Or is it all zones, all buildings, all ag buildings, you know, all those are the next level of issue to be, you know, entertained.
Yeah, number of units.
What percentage of a farm would be occupied by this? You know, or is there a restriction on such a percentage of the building so that it maintains itself as a farm? But, so those were kind of the things that were discussed in various pre-application discussions, and that's why their attorney presented the document to the township, which was shared with the solicitor, saying, you know, here are various options to accommodate this. You could see variances, you could see, and it seemed like more likely one that Tom said is most appropriate, maybe legally, and I think maybe their attorney agreed would be a text amendment to confirm and put constraints on that to satisfy the township, if there's enough ways to do that. Amount of parking, access, you know, advertising, all that.
I
think we should think about it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I personally, to be fair to the Martins and to fair to the community, I just don't have enough information right now.
Yeah, we gotta think
Okay.
about it, yeah.
I need to think about it, and I probably gonna have a lot of questions for Tony and Brett that I'll probably relay over to you. Okay? But right now, I just don't have enough information to make a comment about it, in fairness to everyone.
We got to be very careful, we don't set a precedent that, you know, creates a mess later on.
Yeah, I think just in a general sense, not specifically looking at your situation, but, you know, you start bringing commercial businesses in on a farm, like what you're talking about, you know, has a lot of strings attached to it that, you know, I'm not sure we want to go down that road, but, you know, I think we can talk about it.
And when you say commercial business, you're not talking about actual business, just the operating a storage.
Idea of, yeah.
Right, operating
The
storage.
idea.
Because all the other discussions on dead storage and the reference to dead storage is, you know, it's not contractor shops or it's not, but it's just the business of storage. Right, okay.
It's still the public
No,
coming in,
exactly.
yeah.
And I think the other thing to point out was the interest in this approach was that it would essentially be accessory to the farm and not be deemed a full-scale commercial operation, which then would not require land development. So I think that's where, when you get right down to it, you have the many storage facilities that have gone through land development.
Yeah.
And then you have this other opportunity, and what is the scale of that, and how do you do it? So I think they need to understand, if you're thinking it's land development, that needs to be part of this discussion too, because that creates.
Well, I may have missed something, but Brent, Susie Macklin. C1 zoning, is it allowed? Isn't that the question?
As far as
Storage
mini
units?
storage units.
Yeah,
In the C1.
Okay.
It is, yeah.
so I don't understand what the discussion is. If he's in his zoning,
Right.
how are you going to say no?
Well, it's not up to me to say no, number one.
Well, how do you say no against a permitted use within a zoning is my question.
Here's how it gets more complicated, is there are provisions in the zoning ordinance say you can't have multiple uses on a property, on primary uses on a property, unless the property's arranged in a way those could be separated at future time. So that's basically made them two different uses. And then a full-scale mini storage facility would also have to be approved through land development, frontage improvements, all the related aspects to that. And I don't know if it's a special exception, it's permitted or special, it needs to meet other criteria for mini storage in terms of access widths and parking and all those. So I think the goal is to more or less do it as an accessory to the farm and keep it at a scale that it doesn't overrun the farm and isn't the same as a mini storage. How do you do that?
James?
Yeah, didn't we
Could you
do
state your
this?
name, please?
Chance Firestone, didn't we do this a few years back on Reynolds Road at E.F. Martzell's old building?
Yeah.
That's the one I'm referring to, it's Ralph Buckles, that's the one I'm referring to, that now has the fence all the way around it, has the storage trailers, has the motor homes, has the other equipment, that sure looks like a farm with storage equipment on it.
That's quite a number of years ago. It's before my time here, and I'm here 13 years. Yeah, when E.F. Martzell was in business, they were a contracting company, and they had outdoor storage of their construction equipment and all that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that company has since been dissolved. They still own the property, and they were looking for outdoor storage, and that's what they have now, yeah.
Don't they have indoor storage there too as well?
I'm not quite sure. They have a few buildings, and they may very well.
Because they didn't really extend anything, they just took their equipment storage lot and turned it into,
Correct.
to like outside storage for campers and stuff, but I believe they have storage inside the barn as well.
You may be right. I'm not aware if they do have indoor storage, because I'm not aware of that.
But is that zone C1 or what is that
No,
zone?
that portion, I believe, is rural residential.
So if they can do it in a residential zoning, why couldn't they do it in a commercial
And it
zone?
may very well have been before it was even rezoned back in the day, pre-existing non-conformity. They're kind of protected with that. I'd have to do more research on the Martzell property to answer your question appropriately, but that's been there a long time. Quite possibly just before zoning was.
Yeah, from my perspective, that doesn't fit the
Not this.
criteria of a farm, just because a property is a farm. That doesn't-
Yeah.
Yeah, but
If there's anything
see,
agricultural going on there.
the area he's looking at doing this is already zone commercial, so.
But he claims it's a working farm.
That's why we're talking ag use.
Don?
Donnie Stover. What about already over Wabash, there's a sign out in front of the farm that says for rent, space for rent. And then also up here at the corner of Hill Road and 272, there's a farm that they rent out, that they advertise for rent. So, they're along your main street and they have it. So,
Well, nobody has a permit to do any rental like the one you're talking about at Wabash, and I'm gonna have to get involved in that one.
yeah, they have a sign right out in
Nobody
272.
got any approvals from my zoning board or a permit from my office to do that, so I'll look into that one, that's for sure. But you've got an ag use, you've got a farm that's been there for quite a long time, they're asking for another type of use. If it's a principal use, as Brent said, then they'd have to get approvals for how they can separate those two principal uses. The Martins didn't actually want to go down that road because they can't make that happen. You'd have to be able to basically put proverbial property lines to separate these two uses if they ever had to be divided. That can't happen.
Jordan Martin, commenting on that,
Yeah.
we want to keep it as a farm, so if we would go to land development, we could go that route, but then we're turning our whole life into a commercial enterprise, which we don't really want to do.
Right.
Nor will we be able to actually separate and show any separation with setbacks between any buildings that are there.
Yeah.
Susie Mackley again.
We're gonna take this, we're gonna table tonight and we'll get back to you next meeting, okay?
Can-
Yes,
Can I
indeed.
just say one more thing?
Yeah.
Historically, they used to allow farmers, and I forget under what premise, that they could have, supplemental income. I know that was allowed, but under what or where,
And you're right, Mrs. Mackley, we do have several farmers in the area that have buggy shops, that they create buggy shops. Certain ones in the ag zone have, dog kennels, supplemental income in the off-season when they're not growing. So we do have those types of things exist in the township. Predominantly, they're ag properties. This one, fortunately, seems to be in the general commercial zone and ag use. It makes it that much more complicated. That's why they're exploring the text amendment avenue.
Just hang on, we'll look further into this and get back to you next meeting. Okay, thank you. Stevens Feed Mill.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Dave Neat from Demon's Office.
This is Dave. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm here on behalf of Stevens Female, oh, Delvin's here also.
Delvin's here.
Yeah, Delvin. We've been here with the township on several occasions with Stevens Female at the current location on Stevens Road in the village of Stevens. Recently, they are looking at an opportunity to acquire some land that would be on Route 272 between Wabash Road and Pottsville Road. You can see it on the plan here. 272 here. It's in the vicinity of the Fortune Rail shops are right across the street. This is Wabash Road here. House Farm was recently auctioned off last fall. So they have about, there's 3 tracts of land here. There's a 17-acre parcel, sort of like this, that has frontage on Wabash Road also. There's the 3.5-acre parcel that is fronting on 272 here next to the Rock Ridge Machine Shop. And then there's a parcel back here, a little further to the east, that's about, that's another 9 acres there. So this property is all zoned the C1 general commercial, which does not allow the commercial processing of agricultural, products. This would be commercial processing, warehousing of agricultural products. Is what the use is intended to do. So they are asking if the board would consider a text amendment also that would basically make some provisions that would allow the commercial processing of ag products in the general commercial zone. Attorney Dwight Yoder sent you a letter, just some initial thoughts about that. And again, this is our sort of our initial introduction. We understand there would be a lot of discussion, a lot of questions to answer. So this is just to see what your initial reaction to the question is, so to say. So one of the things that we talked about was they have about 30 acres available with that as that's depicted there, and if there would be some sort of a text amendment that would specify that it would have a minimum lot size or something like that, like something to the tune of 15 acres or something like that, or frontage along along state highway, something like that. We'd be able to negotiate that with the township, whatever would make everybody feel comfortable about the change to the zoning ordinance. As Brett mentioned with the previous project, once you make it text amendment to the ordinance, then it's available for anybody who qualifies for that. So certainly that's something to consider, whether that's what the township would like to do with this particular situation or not, or could there be some, sort of hand-picked criteria that we could write into it that would make it sort of limited to this kind of a property here. Those are all things we would ask you to consider and, we want to negotiate. Delvin, do you have anything you wanted to add or ask, or?
Do you want to just explain the general lay of what would be commercial and retail
Yeah, so,
and what would be manufacturing at the rear of the property?
yeah, the main mill facilities would be towards the south. This is the Cocalico Creek along the south side there. The land kind of falls away from the road there a little bit, drops off a little bit. So the mill and the towers and everything would be sort of the back, the grain bins. What they would like to do is have their office in sort of a retail type of a setting, store in the front, which would be sort of like a, how would you describe it? Like
A feed store.
feed store, but
Yeah.
a little more upscale than what they have right now at their current facility. A little more formal in terms of retail sales, but not too far removed from feed and feeding equipment that they would kind of accessory products that they would have in their feed. So So there would be, you know, where they're located right now in the light industrial zone, you know, the retail use isn't allowed there, but over here in the general commercial zone, the mill would not be allowed there. So you have to sort of pick and choose, you know, if it's possible. And like I said before, these would have to be arranged in such a way that they could be subdivided, or maybe they will be separated, we're not really sure, we have that to work out yet. They may actually end up on 2 different parcels, but, you know, again, we're just looking for a general reaction.
The tanks, that's very, how big are they? How tall?
That's the question, right, Delvin?
Yeah.
The towers are tall, they're, 150.
You're saying the feed storage tanks
Yeah.
would be about 70 feet, 60 or 70 feet tall. That's for the main grain storage.
And you have the legs on top of that.
Then there's grain receiving elevators. They would extend beyond that for gravity flow in.
Yeah.
Conceivably, they could be 100, 120 feet
From grade.
from grade.
And how far from the road is that? They said, how far they
That'd
said
be
back?
plenty, that'd be 600, 800 feet away from the road.
Yeah, and that land does go back, so how,
It drops off.
The elevation pitch is.
the elevation pitch?
Not 150 feet.
No,
I knew that.
Be in the water.
Give about a 15 or 20 foot elevation difference between where the road is here at the driveway and the back of the property, so it helps, but it's not.
Well, yeah, the only concern is
Yeah.
how they don't put them, how much they stick up. They're set back fairly far, and if you plant trees and stuff, there's little shields on it too.
There are some proposed buildings, if I may, some proposed buildings that'll be in front of those storage bins.
Right.
Yeah.
Also over time.
Porch and rail is.
Down the road,
Doug, Mackley.
Doug Macklin, what's the right of way? I know there's a power line goes across there. What's there, 150 feet, 300 feet, or what is it?
This is a little interesting. You have actually a 50-foot PP&L easement associated with the power line itself. It's only
Okay.
50 feet wide.
Okay,
But then there was a prior deed or agreement that was recorded granting an additional 50 feet of building setback
oh,
in addition to the main easement. So you actually have 150 feet of easement that's associated with that power line, but 50 only applies, 50 on either side only applies to buildings, and the middle 50 is an entire, restricted easement.
so it's a total, it's 75 from center line, basically.
Correct.
So Delvin, is this a concept in conjunction with what you already had going on back at Stevens, or?
We would retain the facility at Stevens because of the rail siding there. But as Dave already explained, we have a dual use. If we're going to expand, we need to expand retail and, of course, production capacity. So that's where this conflict between C1 and L1 as well? Yeah.
So that means this would be taking some business away from the existing plant, or?
Yeah, yes, it would be less truck traffic if that's what you're asking. Yeah. We have, let me just to be real clear, we have facilities in 2 areas, here and in Manheim as well. So our first choice is to stay local to our original location, Stevens. It's not our only choice, but it's our first choice. So that's why we're here. We'd like to stay at home.
I think it's a workable concept in general terms, but there is a lot of details.
Right, for that.
I think also it's important to point out at their current location is Stevens Road, they've got product crossing Stevens Road constantly, and Delvin is aware of it as a safety issue for his employees and for everybody else associated. To alleviate some of that truck traffic in downtown Stevens, if I may, and get it out here, we see a benefit.
Delvin, would you expect much traffic between the existing mill and this, just trucks back and forth? Because there's product in one place and not the other, or not much of that?
Not much. During a transitional phase, potentially, but the goal would be just to consolidate, The other would function more as a grain storage area and some rail siding if that's needed. And we continue producing some non-GMO feed at that location, at the current location.
Is there any discussion for lot 3 yet? Have you heard anything at all for lot 3?
You mean this lot here?
Off to the right,
One to the left.
There.
uh,
Or what? My left?
to your left.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go. Is there any?
Have you heard any discussion about that lot, or?
No, I'm at a loss here.
He has, I don't think he has, you haven't decided what to use with lot 3.
Oh,
Oh.
you mean the purple?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We
So,
will,
you know, we actually did a couple of sketches about how to utilize the land best. You know, the power line does create a bit of obviously a thing there. But, you know, we're kind of comfortable that we could probably get by with this kind of layout, and this would be, you know, maybe a separate track. Maybe we might change the line a little bit to, you know, leave it as a separate parcel. But one thing we have with pre-application meeting would be to provide parallel access to this track, you know, so that, you know, somehow, if this becomes the main throughway or not, that even if this is the main entry, that there would not be further entrances on 262 at this location. So
Okay.
there'd be a facilitation of traffic over to that parcel.
Got it.
That's as far as we got with the concept of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it is important to note that one of the things that was emphasized is access management along 272, accommodating left turns and utilizing the signal at Wabash to the extent possible. And there were discussions that Wabash Road itself may need some adjustments, whether it be to the carway itself or the alignment, but you won't even get to those details if the concept or the use isn't compatible or the text amendment doesn't accommodate the heights and the use, so.
And just for additional thought, you know, as far as other zones around or other uses, you know, everything across the creek is zoned agricultural over there. You have some commercial, I think it's the purple commercial here. Oh, sorry, light industrials. This tract is light industrial, and then of course, Four Seasons though is light industrial. So it's kind of a mix. There's a lot of things going on at that particular, you know, intersection or area, but the use, the processing and warehousing of ag products is only specific allowed in the light industrial zone.
Right.
And obviously, you know, real estate opportunities, you know, don't come up every day like this. So,
There's only so much land.
right.
So you're looking for a motion for the text amendment?
I guess, maybe just, I don't know if we should call it a motion or just a,
Well, it was,
Motion to entertain it, maybe, I guess?
entertain it, and if you would like to consider it more, to pass it on to both the planning commission and Lancaster County Planning Commission. for their-
procedure
for
process.
their-
Yeah, I would be okay with doing that
Okay.
Motion.
this time.
me too.
Okay, motion B, the zoning ordinance text amendment request submitted by Delvin Martin regarding Stevens Feed Mill onto East Cocalico Township and Lancaster Planning Commission for further consideration. That's the motion.
And I'll make that.
I'll second it. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Transfer unrestricted capital reserve. We authorized the police chief to get Motorola radios last year because the other ones weren't working. The motion is, proposed motion is to transfer unrestricted capital reserve pool funds in the amount of $26,113.82 to the police capital project account number 30.410.70.0 in the capital reserve fund for the purchase of 7 Motorola radios. The pool fund had excess money, so we We have to do a motion to transfer that money from that fund to the police fund. I'll make that motion.
And I will second that. And then also for his, sorry.
Any comments or questions?
Actually, Chad, we would like to know, has that alleviated your radio dead spots? Because the fire companies are now looking into that too. We have the same issue.
I have heard of no problems. So again, my opposite station has always been a dead spot. And again, I might have to move the radio a little bit, but
You got at least
it
something workable.
seems to be fixed.
Yeah, and that was my, that's what I wanted to bring up again publicly. It's because of the dead spot specifically along that strip there, right? And I believe this was back on November 21st. We did make a motion to go ahead and purchase those radios. Again, because of the safety issue there for the officers. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no, motion carried, thank you. I lost my train of thought. Retirement of Corporal Gail Sizer, retirement benefit request. Motion B to transfer, motion to approve the retirement payment of current sick time, unused leave time as requested by Corporal Gail Sizer in her letter dated January 6, 2020. And this is all regulated by the union. So it's contractual, so I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Now the motion be to approve retirement payout occurred sick time, unused leave time as requested by Corporal David R. Fisher in a later letter dated January 20, 2020.
And again, that's contractual.
Yeah, that's also contractual. I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Park and Rec appointments.
At the Park and Rec Board, they recommended to the Board of Supervisors nominate Edward McLaughlin to the Recreation Board.
Yeah, I don't see it here tonight. No. Okay. I'll make a motion to appoint Edward McElhennis to the Park and Rec Board. The term to expire December 31st, 2020. I'll second that. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Old business. MS4.
Yes.
I think you have some.
Yes, there's a project we want to start with having some volunteers help with some water sampling. I have a short PowerPoint that I put together that explains what the project is about. And has it there. Next. This is just a kind of introduction, just a little bit about MS4, what it is and why. The water quality in our local streams obviously matters here for the environment, for fishermen, for general aesthetics, but also matters to everyone downstream from the waters here. This is a purpose.
Miss Vaughn,
What?
Miss Vaughn, not too fast, nope, sorry.
No, that's right. The chart on the left is showing where sediment in the streams come from. Our MS4 permit requires us to reduce the amount of sediment in the streams, and the blue large area is stream bank erosion. Next, the orange is agricultural land, and all of the urban and residential areas, the little tiny stripes that you cannot quite see on that. So it gives you an idea of the relative importance. Next. Disturbed ground, when it rains, soil erodes off of it. We've got visitors up there. Next.
Place is buggy.
Stream banks erode, we get a hard rain, more erosion from streams. We end up after rainstorms, the streams are looking a lot like chocolate milk, very opaque. That sediment, go next. Heads downstream and eventually gets to the Susquehanna River. This is the
Sorry.
It's the Conowingo Dam, which is just south of Pennsylvania, but that was taken right after Hurricane Lee, and you can see how much of Pennsylvania was headed to Maryland on that day. Next. That's a satellite photo from the same time period, and it shows you how much sediment gets carried downstream in the bay. Obviously, it doesn't always look like that, but it's always there, just not in that concentration. Okay, next. And what it does in the bay is it causes problems like algal blooms shown here. You have too many nutrients and the algae start going crazy. When you get too much algae, they start decomposing, it uses up the oxygen, hurts the wildlife in the bay. Next. And you end up with fish kills if you have too much nutrients causing too much algae, which then decays, takes the oxygen out and suffocates the wildlife. Next. So we're required to reduce the sediment coming out of the township by a little over 150,000 pounds a year, which is a fairly substantial amount. Next. Little graphic there. If you put 150,000 pounds of soil, it would be a cube, about 12.5 feet on a side. So pretty substantial. So we're trying to take that much soil out of the streams. The amount of soil loss that actually takes place has been modeled with computers, computer simulations, and the accuracy of those models, which that 150,000 pound number is based on, really isn't known that well. The next one. So how accurate is the estimate? We don't know. So what we want to do is we want to have some actual data from East Cocalico Township to find out how much sediment really is in the water here, to find out whether the 150,000 pound a year estimate is appropriate or hopefully not too low. Next. So what we're doing is taking water samples at a variety of points in the township and analyze them for a character called turbidity, which is how opaque the water is, how much light it blocks because of the sediment in it, and that can be used to calculate the amount of actual sediment in the water. Next. So if you look at what's happening in our streams, the sort of little bucket in the center, some of the sediment comes into the township streams from outside the township, that is upstream. Things that are going on in the township is represented by the backhoe there. And you have stuff leaving the township after the whole process, and then what we're doing is trying to take some of the sediment out of the water by making changes within the township. Okay. Next. So there are a number of points where streams enter the townships. Cocalico Creek, Little Cocalico Creek, Fry's Run, which is tributary to Little Cocalico, Stony Run, which actually starts in the township, and Little Muddy Creek enters the township from outside. So those are all streams coming into the township, which are potentially adding sediment into the streams that may not all be contaminated before getting here. And there are two main points where it leaves, the Cocalico Creek and Muddy Creek, both of which leave and head into Exeter Township. What?
We need to change the name of these streams and creeks.
Yeah, you figure out starting with the stream that was called Muddy Creek starting in the 1730s.
It doesn't help our cause.
Yeah, the chances of getting Muddy Creek.
If it says little muddy, it's not a lot of muddy, it's little.
Until it rains. So now I've set up 10 locations where we're going to be taking water samples, monthly intervals, so we get baseline, and then also at rain events. And so with volunteers, we want to collect water samples, and then they will be dropped off to the township, where the water samples will be analyzed here with equipment that we are in the middle of purchasing. So the issue that's before the supervisors is when you have a number of volunteers heading out into the real world to collect water samples from places such as off the bridge. There's safety issues which are important, so there'll be training involved, but also liability issues. And so our solicitor, Tom Goodman, prepared a simple one-page liability waiver form. And so the question is, do the supervisors want to approve that for use of the volunteers for the sampling program?
And let me ask you this, are those being coordinated with the road crew in terms of traffic, in terms of when they're walking along the road or getting access? Or the police department, our police department?
The plan was to have each person doing the sampling have to wear the safety vest the same as the road crew wears. And also, if they're going to be somewhere where they're in a traffic lane, we'll give them some traffic cones to set up before they start doing actual work.
Okay, can I, in that situation, can I ask, can we actually have the police department present and those volunteers are there? Is that possible?
Yes, unless they would get a call, I mean, an emergency call, they would potentially have to leave and let the person there, I don't know if that's feasible, I mean.
Problem would be
Safety,
coordinating
but I
that,
don't know.
because if you're going to be sampling in rainstorms, those don't get scheduled 9 to 5. So there'll be times when it will be probably very inconvenient for the police department to have to be out there when people are sampling. Plus the points are scattered at the corners of the township.
Are all these sites on public land or?
They're all from bridges or culvert crossings. Like one of them is outside the township building here. There's a little tiny culvert through Stony Run under Hill Road. And that'd be one of the sample points, one of the ones that I would do. So I'll be doing some of these. Ralph Buckles has volunteered to do the 2 over near his place. And then we need 3 additional people. Tony will take care of the one that's fairly close to him.
We have some scouts that are also interested in helping.
Okay. So does part of it also is that the MS4 permit is looking for public engagement and involving the public on this, which is part of it.
Some solicitor to draw the waiver of release of liability, so I would need a motion for the board to
Tony?
approve that.
When you put your sampling sites, did you look at like all bridges, like Fry's Run? I don't know where you're planning to do Fry's Run.
All the sample points are at road crossings, they're at bridges.
But like for Fry's Run, which comes down through Smoketown, if you're gonna do it there, your best place to do it is Dulwood Drive, is the least traveled road. That way you can stay away from the safety
The purpose
issue.
of that point is to get an idea of what's coming into the township. And
I didn't
so
know
the site that was selected is
if
up
you
on
had the
Prairie
site
Ridge.
set on less traveled roads, that might also help the safety issue. Instead of, because there's a big difference, you're pulling off the bridge there right down from the fire hall compared to Dulwood Drive, it's 20 times more the traffic kind of deal.
Right. Veracruz Road isn't
Yeah,
one of the main roads of the township,
You'd be okay.
so it should be okay. But
I
the
just
point
didn't-
is to catch the water
Yeah.
as it's coming into the township. You couldn't do the requirements of getting that information from elsewhere in the township.
Okay.
So the motion to approve the waiver of release of liability form for volunteers that will be assisting
in the East Cocalico Township MS4 water sampling project. That's in motion. I'll make it.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Thanks, Dan. Fire company work group.
So gentlemen, you know this has been on and off the table now for some time now, and I believe it's time to bring these working groups back onto the table. The township faces some dollar issues as far as supporting all of our fire companies and our EMS, and we have to, I think, just all put our heads together and work out solutions here for our future and for the future of our residents. So I would like to get an EMS board started, which would consist of the fire chiefs from all stations, EMS captains. I would like an executive officer from each fire department, citizen at large, a business owner, and myself for the emergency management services. And then likewise, I think we need to start up our fire company workshop groups again, which would consist of the fire chiefs of all three stations, the presidents of all three stations, a trustee from each station, there again, a business owner, and myself to help work you through these processes. So I would like the board's permission to get those working groups back up and running.
Are there questions on this being accepted?
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely.
Why only 3 stations when 8 service this township?
Well, it's our 3 stations. Yes, they do service the township, but let's start with what our people have to say first, and then we can move from there. This is just the initial startup of the working group.
Okay, are these sessions open to the public, or is this closed only?
No, this is closed. This is our public
It's
meetings.
just a working group.
This is a working group.
And in the past, I think Mr. Carrasco has been in part of these working groups. Will there be any supervisors?
No, there will not be. I feel that these fire companies and EMS can talk more freely if there's not a supervisor there. So that's how we're going to start. That could change down the road.
Okay.
So, but I want these 3 companies to be able to open up and talk freely about their issues and not bring politics into it.
Okay, but when it comes to money, is that going to be a public comment, or is that going to be closed comment also?
Right now, these are working group meetings that are closed to the public. I don't know what these meetings are going to bring forth yet. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Will the information be dispersed at the next township meetings, or how will the public be known what's going on?
Well, that's a good question. And we're going to need some direction there from the board, you know, and there
Well, I'm
again, all these
firefighter, too.
companies will have input as well. You know, obviously, this information is going to have to be shared with the public, you know, but I think we want to have clear, decisive things that we want to be able to tell the public instead of just a bunch of back and forth, and back and forth, and back and forth. And that's the purpose of these meetings, so we can all get together and all head down one direction and have some clear, decisive things to tell the public.
In the past, gossip has spread rampant.
Yeah, and that needs to
and
stop.
We need to act
That
like
needs to
adults.
stop. Yeah, agreed. Agreed.
Well, what's the main purpose of these meetings?
To figure out the future of our townships. Like I said, all 3 of these stations are facing, their donations are drying up. Costs are increasing. The federal government recently has charged the township with insuring firefighters for cancer. Now they want to come out with us that we have to insure them for post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's going to be a significant increase to the policies and premiums. And we have to get our heads together and figure out what we're going to do here to survive. So,
Was it to strive to consolidate all the fire departments?
that's not what this meeting's about. This
Okay.
meeting's about the future of our township and how can we maintain our services and keep our residents safe.
So is the planning that the county has done, basically the long-term planning, will that have any effects on the planning that's going into this safety and EMS group?
It'll certainly be looked at, of course. Any other questions?
Chance Firestone. I'd like to start off by saying thanks on behalf of the fire departments, or at least Stevens, for the additional funding for the 2020 year. It goes a long way. In the past 3 years at least, there's been a line item of $96,000 for the Ambulance Association. Have they gotten it? At this point, have they gotten a check for $96,000? Why not?
We have, okay, as a township, all our financials have to be documented and open to the public.
Okay.
We requested open books from the fire company, and we've yet received that information. As long as we don't have that information, we cannot give the funds to them
Who did we,
I'm sorry,
for the ambulance.
for the ambulance.
who did we solicit for those financials? The ambulance organization, or the fire company, or?
The fire company.
Fire company, which, and the ambulance, I
Yeah.
had meetings with both. Like the board said, we are accountable to our taxpayers.
And I appreciate
And we
that.
cannot pay out, especially the sum of $96,000 without knowing what their revenues are, and what their expenditures are. You know, and we have to be able to, like I said, be accountable to the residents. If I'm spending $100,000, I need to have answers for them. And I can't just write out a check without having answers for
I
them.
completely understand that. Have we asked multiple times for that documentation?
We have, and that's working, and they know what they need to do now. They know that they're making efforts to do that. They are getting themselves on accounting software. I'm going to provide them with the state chart of accounts for them to set up. And so they know what they need to do, and they are making great efforts to do that.
That's been requested multiple times,
Multiple times?
multiple times, in writing and verbal.
So then why did we place it in the budget for 2020? Then it's something that we've been asking for years and years for the same info, and we haven't been receiving it. Why are we keep putting it in the budget? Or why do we keep putting it in the
Because
budget?
it's funding for our residents.
It's still
It's
an
still
the
obligation.
responsible thing to do
That's correct.
for the ambulance.
We're responsible for the safety and well-being of our citizens.
That's correct.
Well, a follow-up on that, on Chance's question. Is it a single $96,000 line item in the 2020 budget? Or does it include the payments from 2018, 2019,
No.
into 2020 line?
No.
It's a single line item for the $96,000.
Good.
The prior line items, the auditable financial documentation that we requested was not received. Therefore, that funding, let's say, has expired.
Right.
It just does not automatically roll over.
I have another couple questions here. So with the consideration of the 96,000, has the township reconsidered that? Being how there's been an anonymous donation of over $200,000 to the organization?
There has been a $200,000, that is correct. It is my understanding that that money has been put back into a reserve account to help them purchase new equipment down the road, which we all know what the price of new equipment costs. That $200,000 will not be enough money to purchase a single vehicle, as we all know. So I think they are doing the responsible thing by putting that back into reserves for new equipment.
I guess
And that,
I'm sorry, Chance, I guess I'm not sure I understand your question.
I'm just wondering if the board has considered ending the continued $96,000 allotment based on the fact that they had received a $200,000 donation.
That wasn't in consideration because I only learned about that very recently.
Okay. And then to follow up on the working group, is there going to be a path to separate the ambulance to its own organization so it can thrive on its own without being attached to the fire department?
It is attached to the fire company,
Yes.
and I don't believe they have any desire to separate those two companies, but they must separate the books for us. I have to know the difference between their expenditures and their revenues and
I
our
just-
companies.
Me personally, being a first responder in the area, I think we should take note of what almost essentially every other EMS organization has done in the county and probably the state, and separate the fire from the EMS for reasons as far as liability and things like that. But I think it would be a more streamlined operation if it would be.
Well, and that's some of the points that'll come out in these working groups.
You know, since you're asking, I'll say this, it's important for everyone to understand here, we have a fiduciary responsibility, okay? Those are taxpayer dollars. The request from the Reamstown ambulance for the $96,000 in funding is actually for reimbursement of financial losses at the ambulance.
But how can we prove a loss if we don't know?
If we don't have the data. That's
And
correct.
that's, I mean,
So
we've been asking, the township has been asking for years for this data, and it's gotten stonewalled and just driven. We haven't gotten answers, and I'm wondering when we're gonna do something to change it.
I don't believe we're getting the answers now. I really do.
It's
I've met with them.
frustrating from my
It's very
standpoint.
frustrating, but I've met with them, and I feel very confident that they're willing to work with us and get us what they need, so. And if they don't, it'll be the same scenario as last year. You know, the $96,000 will stay right where it's at, so.
It is frustrating because in good faith, we continue to put that funding in there, in the budget. And unfortunately, we just don't get the auditable documentation that we need.
Yeah, and, you guys don't want to do anything to get yourselves personally jammed up, so I applaud you guys for doing what you're doing. So thank you.
But I'm confident in the discussions we've had, that things are going to move forward, and I would like to move forward with all three companies and the ambulance, so.
Just for people, some people in the audience may not know, it's 3 fire companies. That issue is with the ambulance that Reamstown is associated with. The other 2 companies are not part of that organization, part of that. So just so everybody understands that it's not the 3 companies that are doing that, it's just one individual company, so the public's aware of that, not all. So
I guess what I'm getting at is, why should my tax money go to an ambulance that doesn't even service me? Is where I'm getting at. We're covered where I live, where I'm on the west side of the township, and we're covered by Reinhold's EMS. So that's kind of where I'm, why can we give Reamstown almost $100,000 in additional funding and we can't give Reinhold's anything? Because they do cover a good portion of our township.
But Janice, you just said you're getting covered by Reinhold's, and you don't give them any tax dollars if you live in the east.
No, we give them a dues.
Oh, sorry.
We pay dues.
membership.
Yeah.
Yes, but those membership dues, in all honesty, are pretty low.
They are.
And they don't sustain.
No, they don't
anything.
No, but every little bit helps, so.
Absolutely.
I think the working group is starting with our 3 fire companies, but could mutate into the regional fire company meetings too, eventually. We, statewide, we were responsible for our local fire companies, but in the long run, I think we're going to have to regionalize all the municipalities and work together, because things aren't getting cheaper.
Yeah. And, to follow up with Ralph's question about, we have 8 that service the township, I think we gotta start small and get our own ducks in order before we can get everybody else's ducks in, especially with how volatile relations can be between different municipalities at certain aspects of time, so.
Well, hopefully they'll get better.
Exactly. That's our goal here.
Can you repeat what the people are you would like to amend committees?
Yes, so.
Because it sounded like a lot, so I want to make sure.
It is. It is. For the emergency services, I would like the fire chiefs, the EMS captains, an executive officer from those companies, a citizen, a business owner, and myself. For the fire company working group, I would like the fire chiefs, the presidents of the companies, a trustee, a business owner, and myself.